Hey, what's up, you sexy bitches, and welcome back to this week's Weekly D. Today I have Kyra Johannesen on with me. Kyra is the owner of Body and Pole in New York, and if you don't know what that place is, I highly recommend you go and check them out. Body and Pole is the biggest studio in New York, and it's awesome. They gave birth to some of the biggest names. Some of the biggest names have worked there. We're talking Marlo, Michelle Stanek, Stephen Retchless, Michelle Natoli, Sam Starr, and more. Like, so many amazing pole dancers have worked there. And I wanted to talk to her about what gave Body and Pole the secret sauce to be the success it is today. So without further ado, this is the Weekly D. Because honey, if you ain't getting your D on the daily, you better at least be getting it once on the weekly.
If you're not getting any and you want some tea, then come and join Dan up on the Weekly D. It's the Weekly D.
Hey Kira, thank you for coming on to my podcast. It's really nice to speak to you. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's really funny actually seeing you on screen because the last time I saw you was when I was in New York, which would have been years ago now. I can't remember how many years ago. I don't know if you remember this actually. I'm random. I wasn't even going to mention this. I just remembered it now. You had a student who was doing a competition to a routine, and the routine was to remix of like a Britney Spears song. I think it might have been Toxic or something like this. And I remember listening to it and thinking, oh, this is such a cool song. I got my Shazam out at the time. I was like, I love this song so much. But yeah, so that was years ago, and you were like coaching one of your students. It might have even been one of your instructors maybe. And that was the last time I saw you, way before COVID, obviously.
Yeah,
How have you been
know.
since then? Have you been busy?
I've been busy. Yes, I've
Busy
been
person.
very busy person. It's good. Things are
It
good.
is
I mean,
good.
things are up and down. Let's get real. Like, things are sometimes amazing, and then there's sometimes like torrential downpour, and sometimes that happens within the hour. But some days you get good, like, good weeks and months. So
Yeah. Well, I'm
yeah.
excited to talk to you about things like that anyway, because these are the sort of things that I don't want people just to hear the good. I want them to hear how Body and Pole survived all these crazy times. But before we do that, I just like to start off the podcast with you having the opportunity to sort of like introduce yourself, tell people who you are, where you're from, the businesses you run. Just give a little bio for anyone who is listening to this who doesn't know who you are. So can you give us a little intro?
Yeah. Hi. So my name is Kyra Johannesen.
It's Johannesen?
Johannesen.
I thought it was Johansson. I've been saying wrong the whole time. Johannesen.
Johannesen.
Okay.
It's okay. My kid, I didn't take my husband's name, so I'm the only Johannesen in this house.
Ah.
But yeah, I started. I'm a choreographer and a dancer my whole life. I went to an art school for that in LA, and then I moved to New York. I did lots of hustling and different kinds of internships and work studies and assistant work just to get into classes. And then I started seeing pole dancing in 2006, and I thought that this is a cool thing. Do you know this story? Do you even know?
No.
Okay, so this is the story. So this is the big, how did Kyra Johannesen find pole dancing? So I went to the Hustler Club in New York in 2006 with a bunch of my friends and my husband at the time. Well, he's still my husband, but were we married yet? We weren't married yet. We got married in 2007. So we go, and there was this, the Hustler Club's got a really tall pole, and it's really tall pole on a really decent stage. And so we go, we're having fun, we're throwing money all over the place. And there was one dancer on the stage that was like super flexible and super pointy feet and incredibly musical. And I looked at my husband and I said, I think this person trained in movement of sorts and was not making the dollar bills. Nobody throwing money. And then another dancer goes up and climbs this very tall pole, flips upside down, and does the nose breaker and money. And it stopped like, whoop, like 1 inch from the ground, and money. I mean, like, it was like, it's seriously raining. It was the first time I really saw money raining. And I was so like, this is incredible. This is an incredible thing. I
Hmm.
love all of that. So I got a lap dance from both of them. This is me as a hustler. I got a lap dance from both of them, and I gave them my card and told them I'm a choreographer. And I said the same thing to both of them. You have incredible skill, incredible talent, and I think I could help you make even more money. Because it's true. I was like, with the trick dancer, I was like, I think I could even like time this a little bit more so that, you know what I mean? She could even pop it like a couple more times. And then the
Yeah.
dancer, I was like, you need that, whatever that is. And I'm going to learn how to do that so that you can, you need a couple more of those dynamic falls and stuff. So I gave them both my card, left that night. And the one that was a trained dancer called me, and I started giving her privates out of my apartment. My landlord actually put up my pole. It was totally a pipe. I got a party pole. Nobody probably even knows what that is. It was a party brass pole. It was called the party pole. It couldn't
Yeah,
do
I was
anything
just
but
about to
be
say the
static.
brand was called Party Pole, right? Because I remember
Yeah,
hearing about it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
party pole. And he put a pipe on it because I had a really tall ceiling, which is very weird for New York. Very small space, like 400 square feet, but tall ceiling. And we put up the pole. It was like 13 feet, and I'd have her come over, and I would research YouTube videos, and I bought DVDs back then of Fanya, and I'm like learning off these DVDs and off of YouTube, and then I would teach her the tricks, but then incorporate it into like a routine. And she was coming every week, and she was having more fun at work, and then she told everybody, and then more people were training out of my home. And then, so
Right.
as I was
Okay.
doing that, it was the summer of 2006. As I was doing that, I was also choreographing a dance TV show. And so as I was choreographing the dance TV show, one of the dancers was Kristen Sudeikis. And Kristen was like, your shoulders just keep getting more defined. And I was like, I'm teaching pole dancing out of my house. I'm learning it really. And then I'm figuring out how to set it on these dancers. And she was like, oh my gosh, well, there's a Crunch Gym in New York wants somebody, and you'd be right for it, to structure something like that for them with the pole dance classes. And I was like, all right, well, let's introduce everybody. So Kristen has Forward Space now in New York. Kristen Sudeikis is Jason Sudeikis' sister, and she has Forward Space. It's killing it. She's a killer choreographer. And then I was introduced to this woman named Marie Forello. She has B School. She's been on Oprah, but she ran
Wow.
Crunch Gyms. I've been surrounded by incredibly passionate, strong, inspiring women. And
Yeah.
so Marie Forello, she came to my house because they didn't even have everything. And I taught her a class. She came back, taught another class. She was like, okay, I need this kind of curriculum. I need this kind of breakdown. And I did it all for free to show them that I could create something. I then launched it, and it went nuts. It went absolutely
Crazy.
nuts. And then that's when, like, Michelle Stanek was one of my students. Stephen Rutchless was one of my students. And then me and Marla Fiskin.
Steven.
Steven!
Oh,
And so then
oh, I
Marla,
miss him.
I know, he's so great. He's doing
I
so
love
well.
him.
I love
Yeah.
him.
Well, I mean,
I
you've
mean,
had some crazy names come out of this studio. Marlo Fiskin, Michelle, Steven, Michelle
Michelle Natoli. She's our assistant
Natoli.
programming director right now. She's
Oh,
incredible.
yeah. How is
Yeah.
she? She
She's
good?
amazing. She's
Oh,
so
she's
good.
awesome.
I love working with Michelle Natoli day to day. I mean, she's so petite, but there's so much passion and fun in that little itty bitty body. I mean, she is so tiny.
Like Sammy, Magnus. I mean, funny, I know Magnus had done pole before he came to you, but I think I found out about him through Body and Pole, actually. I think that's how I discovered Magnus. I think he'd already started to become a little bit famous, hadn't he, before he came to Body and Pole, right?
Yeah, we recruited him. So we had him as an artist in resident, and that whole time
That
of him
was it.
staying for 6 months, I was just trying to get him to fall in love with the
Yeah.
studio, and then he ended up staying, which was great. But yeah, he already
Yeah.
had a very good name for himself, and had come to the studio quite often and taken class, and just been so incredible. Such a good soul. Such a
Yeah.
good soul.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. So and when you were so Crunch Fitness was the first place, was it just one venue, or did they made you roll it out across all of the Crunch Fitnesses, or how did the Crunch system work?
So it started with the Union Square location when they launched it, but my classes were going to 40 to 50 people in a class. It
Oh,
was
crazy.
insane. And they
Yeah.
were running as many as they could. And
With
so
how
they
many poles?
too many, like 12. Like it was
Oh, so
crazy.
like 5 people per
Yeah,
pole.
yeah. I was like I was running and gunning, like, and then I got them to give me an assistant because I was like, this is insane. So then I started training crews, which ended up being that, Body and Pole's first round of rock stars. And then
Right.
Marlo came in and we started just having a good time together. I knew her from dancing, and then she heard that I started this thing. So she came in to take one of my classes, and she's like, "You're pretty cool at this." I was like, "You want to hang out?" So we just started training together, and it just kept becoming a culture. And then they put it at 59th Street, and then they put it in their Brooklyn location, and then it just kept going to the point of it was everywhere in New York. And then they asked me to be the director for the nation, and then I did some hard candies. Then I went international, so I kept bringing it around the world for them.
So
And then I wrote
just with
Expert.
Crunch Gym.
Yeah, and then I wrote Expert for them with Marlo. Me and Marlo wrote Expert, and that, they still have this rendition number one. I mean, I don't think they've updated it, but they basically took that, and then we wanted to expand, and they didn't want to really financially give us a lot of love for that. So we said, you know what, we need to go somewhere where we can expand it, also edit it, and then also financially make some money. I mean, doing this
Of
for a living is
course.
crazy hard. So then we started Elevated in 2013. But yeah, it's been a ride. And it's weird because I've been doing this since 2006, and there's so many stories. I mean,
Yeah.
we did a Diplo video. I'm like, what? We did a Diplo video, and it was hilarious. And it's like,
That's
what?
brilliant.
And we did a MoMA PS1. We did PS1 MoMA in 2011. I mean, things just were going crazy. And
Yeah.
and I was saying yes to everything because that's it. That's what I mean. I wanted to just, I wanted to do it all. So anyone had an opportunity, I didn't care if it didn't pay that much, because I needed to put my foot down and make sure that people saw that I had something to say. I was interesting. I was creative. I had the background in movement and in fitness that I could keep rising, and then that would eventually get paid. So I just kept going, just,
Yeah, 100%. So the journey started at Crunch Fitness, and then when did the Body and Pole, the one that I have been to, the huge studio, must cost you thousands. I dread to even think how many thousands a month that place cost you. Oh my God.
It's humongously expensive.
I can only imagine. But it's huge and it's absolutely beautiful. When did that place, so can you tell me the timeline? So when did Crunch start, and then what year did the studio open?
So Crunch was 2006. And then one of my students was Leanne Tall, and she was really starting to fall in love and started training people out of her home and wanted to open Body and Pole. So that
Leanne
started.
is the person who your business partner for Body and Pole, right?
Yeah, Leanne was my business partner. I am now the sole owner of Body and Pole. It was all love and grace. Like it was just time, Leanne had different ventures she wanted to do. She's still a huge consultant for Body and Pole, and checks in, and awesome human being, and honestly a family member of mine. So it was about just time. Like things change, and for me, I've transformed in the business, and she wasn't transforming it in this business that way. And so she needed to find a venture that she wanted to do, but she's still very good friends with everybody. And she still calls me all the time, weekly, and we chat. And when things get really scary, I have a great consultant. So
does she still pole?
No,
she doesn't. Did she pole much when you guys started the studio?
After she had her son, she stopped pole dancing so much. And I think that's also where, that can also change, when you're just owning the studio and you're doing all that work of everything that goes into that. And then you're just not teaching, and then you're not a practitioner, or doing it as a hobby for yourself. It can, you can kind of be like, do I want to do this anymore?
Right, fair enough. Well, it's nice to hear actually that it ended on good terms. You know, I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if you get this in the US, but I hear a lot about UK studios. They've like partnered up two people, great friends, like let's start a business together. I'm like, and I see it and I'm like, oh, this is going to end bad. And normally it always does because it's just one of those things. You really got to pick the right person to be able to run a business with. That is a commitment. Like, it's like relationship level. Do you know what I mean? You're basically going
Oh
to be
yeah.
marrying that person. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't think people actually realize that sometimes.
Yeah, no,
So,
it was so great because, well, we were a good fit because she started it and then she realized that Kyra runs programs. She's a creative director already. That's what this place needs. And so we had our roles very clear.
that's good.
Um, and so I think that helped. Like we knew what we were bringing to the table. So it was very easy to create, titles and sort like that. So yeah,
And
she's great.
Body and Pole wasn't the first studio in the US, was it? It wasn't the first, sorry, in New York,
No,
sorry, not in the
no,
US.
no, no, no. Yeah. No,
In New York. Who
New
was the
York pole
first?
dancing was around and Chakra
Okay.
Studio. Not, and I think, there might've been one or other too. They were tiny here, but the thing about that I saw, so my biggest thing is you don't do something unless you have something, a new way of doing it that you
Hmm.
think people might want to see or participate in or be of service to, right? But if somebody's doing it, just go join them. If they're doing it the way that you're like, that's good, join their team and build
Hmm.
that. But no, I saw a position, I saw a place for us. A lot of people weren't doing how we do it, which is like class packages, right? They were doing all series. But I was like, listen, like as coming up as a dancer, you and also a New Yorker, like people can't always make it Tuesday at 7 o'clock, you know? So I was
Right.
like, we got to shift this where people can drop in and out, buy these packages, you know, and that's how we focus. We focus on that lifestyle, that freelancer type that can come one day at 10 a.m. on a Friday, but then can't make it back until a week and a half later on a Monday, but maybe comes 5 times in a week, you know?
Do you have this thing? We don't have it here, and I'm praying to God we don't get it. I think it's called Class Pass or something like this, and it's like
Oh yeah.
you pay. Oh, you have it.
No, yeah, we have it in New York, but I don't use it.
Right, okay. Because this is a system where people they pay monthly, right? And they can go to any kind of fitness venue they want to and use this.
Yeah.
So did you ever try it?
Yeah, definitely.
And it
So
was
I've
terrible.
tried, no, it's not terrible. It's the revenue share wasn't, so I'm a, I try to, it's a business, right? So
Right.
I used it as a platform to market inside of, I mean, cause, you know, spin studios are on there, you know, ballroom studios, you know, other kinds of CrossFits. So you're trying to get in next to them, right? You get in next to them and you're going to hopefully gain that person as a student, as like coming in and get them to, okay, they're trying all these things out and then now they want this. So when we played with that when it first came up and you look at it and you do it for a quarter, you do it for 2 quarters, you do it for 3 quarters. And then you look at like, are these people, are they are they becoming students of yours? Are they actually migrating over? And we were making not the price point I wanted. It was lowering my price point. It's lowering my product, and I'm not getting enough of these clients and students to move. That I just said, you know what, this isn't working for us right
Right.
now. And then also times are I look at the business, it's always changing. The climate is always changing. Like you can't sit there and say I'll never do it again, because maybe they'll shift what they can offer, and maybe I need to pull in more newer students or get in front of somebody. And also, are they doing bigger marketing? Are they putting the money into large ads on socials and in subway stations? And, you know, just where are they putting their money? Right. And then I want to be in that.
Hmm.
So right now it's not, it can be it could end up being really good for people, students that
Yeah,
make
I
it.
think I've always found like pole because we're so limited on the amount of people we can have in a class because the equipment needs such a large amount of space around it, really. And as you know, because your studio is huge, and it's just that whole thing of like if I fill the class with someone from ClassPass or these different, because they've got one in Germany as well, they have, and it just doesn't, the maths doesn't add up. It just doesn't work out. And I think we're specialists enough that I feel that we can be without it. But it was funny because I was in Berlin and actually all of the studios there are on it because they can't afford to come off of it. They kind of trap them into it almost. But yeah,
it kind of becomes a golden handcuff.
Of course it does, because they're just like, well, we can't afford to come off it now because if we do, we'll lose all of these students. So it's a really difficult one. Now, it's safe to say that Body and Pole is the biggest studio in New York. Am I right in saying that, or is there someone bigger now? It's the biggest.
No. Yeah, it's 10,000 square feet. It's got 5 rooms. I don't know. You need some people with big money to come in and take us down because it's too expensive. I think any financial person would be like, this is questionable to do it this big.
So how did you do it, if you don't mind me asking? Like, how did you both afford to get a venue this big, or did you just get lucky at the time that it was reasonable, or like, how did you manage to? Did you borrow the money, or
stupidity? So no, so 2010 we had a small studio, and we had a tiny space just down the street on 33rd and 5th, and it was running crazy. I mean, that's the way to make money. I mean, it was running at 95% fill rate. We had classes all day. Like, I couldn't put enough classes on. It literally started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and last class was 9 o'clock at night, and it was 15 minutes before just cleaning the space. It was so packed. But we were making money, man. But I'm one that's never comfortable. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm not I'm itchy all the time, and I want to always try to do something else or bigger or different. So I saw that we needed to grow. And so we moved over to 115 West 27th Street, where we are now. We were the second floor. So we moved in 2012, but we had made a good amount of money. Me and Leanne decided together we would take the money that we made and put it right back in the studio. So we didn't take any big money, and we put it right back. And we built out the 5,000 square foot space. So now it was and it was reasonable. That should have been where we stopped, right? So it was 2 rooms. We put Ariel in it, 2 rooms and then a private room. And we had a nice locker room. It was running really easy. It was bigger. But in I don't know, 9 months, it was running at 80% fill rate. Packed, boom, 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 just churning. Like, we hit it at the right time. And one day I walked in, and Leanne, so it's her fault. So she hit the floor she blamed Leanne. She hit the floor with her foot, and she goes, you know what's right down there? And I said, what? She goes, the storefront. And I said, oh, it's vacant. And she's like, yeah, you can put a hole in this floor, and it's the storefront. And that storefront has a storefront. It's really high ceilings and has a basement. So we would double our space. And we convinced the landlord to cut a hole in a floor. And we did a $500,000 renovation and cut a hole in the floor and took over the storefront and the basement and renovated that whole thing out in 2013. So we started Body and Pole in 2010. By 2013, we went from 1,200 square feet in 2010 to 10,000 square feet by 2013. Now, let me just say, I knew, though, that it would be the flagship space. I never wanted a franchise and have them everywhere. I want the Juilliard. I'm still after it. I want the Juilliard of Pole and Ariel. I want the big one New York space that everybody around the world comes to because the best teachers are there, and the facility runs all day long, and it's clean, and the equipment's crisp, and it's not over branded. You come in and it feels like a dance space to move, right? And you could put anything you want on it. You can feel sensual in it. You can feel fitness in it. But it's a blank space. You walk in, and the teacher and you decide what's going to happen in that room, right? And that's what I'm always after. And yeah, we're only running now at like 70% fill rate, but my goal is to kill it. I'm going to get it to 85. I'm never going another space, but I want to start running odd hours again. I am in odd hours now. We're very lucky. We run 180 classes a week. So, I mean, it's insane. I have 50 in teachers. So
How many?
I have 50 employees, and I have 39 teachers. Yeah. 39. instructors.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just next. What do you think is the secret sauce that you and Leanne both had that made Body and Pole such a big thing? You know what I mean? Like, why has no one else been able to recreate that? Do you know what I mean? Because it
Mm.
really is probably. I mean, do you know if there's any bigger spaces around the world than
I'm
yours?
not, I actually don't know. Maybe there
No,
might
neither do
be.
I.
I'm not
Maybe.
sure.
And if there is, they're probably not going to be in like central London or, the capital of the like a big sort of city. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's the first
It's so
I ever knew
expensive.
of it. All of the sort of big cities I've ever been to, they've had sort of smallish, not small, but like, yeah, because it's so expensive, isn't it? Like in
It's,
London, the studios aren't huge because it's just too expensive.
oh yeah.
What do you think it is that Body and Pole had that the other studios didn't?
I think you know what it really, it was grassroots, right? We were doing it from a place of like, there's all these really amazing instructors, right? The Michelle Staniks and the Stephen Retchless and the Marlows and the Sam Stars, and they're all coming in, right? And we just wanted to provide the space that they could do what they did best. So we just kept doing the call to like, well, we need to bit more space so they can provide more service, right? And it wasn't ever thought about like, I want to be the biggest or I want to be the best. I want to always be the best. You bet. Like one runner,
Hmm.
but I never thought of it as being the biggest, right? I always thought about it as the best experience, the opportunity. If there's not opportunity, you get crushed. And I think that's what me and Leanne, that's the difference is it was hit the right time. We've hit the right moment. Except Pole keeps having those. So people should never be discouraged because it keeps having those like, and I think it will because it has, it has many layers to it. So
Hmm.
I think it's going to have resurgences constantly because even
Right.
you got Christy Sellers on America's Got Talent, but you still got hustlers rocking. And that's a good thing. You know what I mean? You need those working for you. And I think that's awesome. That's what I love about it. So,
Yeah.
and I think people also are seeing, we do aerial hoop and we do hammock and aerial silk too. And I think they see that side coming in on it and the benefits of being artistry in there and the athleticism. I think it was just really the right time, the right teachers, the creatives that were willing to hustle their face off. And I want to stay relevant for them. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't need to be the one doing it, but I better keep the space available. Like the Donna Carnow, right? Donna Carnow is killing it. Who came from Champaign, Illinois, was a work study at Body and Pole as a killer instructor, was in a huge show in the summer with, what the heck? Is it the one with the windows that the New York Times did? It was during COVID and it was in the windows at Fifth Avenue. She was at Seven Deadly Sins, I think it was called. And she
Okay.
was, and then now she's on Company XIV. She just got it. Like there's the new crew coming, right? And they're
Yeah.
bringing a whole flavor. That's what Body and Pole's for. It's just going to answer the call to that. And the other thing is that I always wanted to be a space where people could do this for a living. Like I didn't get offered healthcare until my second year as a national pole fitness director. Is that insane? Healthcare. So I didn't have healthcare until I was like 37. I offer healthcare at Body and Pole. If you teach 7 or more classes, you have healthcare. So you have to have 7 on schedule classes a week, and then you get healthcare. We'll pay half into your healthcare. So I treat you like a professional, and I'm honest, right? Like rates, I'm like, I want to give you more, but we got to hit these markers. And because I'm a person that's like, if I give the seniors this, I got to pay that payroll. It's got to last. I'm not going under. We're going to make it. I'm always like, if I give you something, it's going to last. It's not going to fizzle out and I'm going to have to pull it back so that's what it's been hard and coming back from COVID is we did a runway situation there where we were able to get a new lease with my landlord, thank God. But it runwayed up, right? So it was lower, but now it's at the highest height, which you don't want to know what that number is. And
Yeah.
so I'm trying to just maintain, right? And that's the next thing. I'm really trying to get my seniors back to higher rates. So I still think we're paying high, but I want to pay
The
the
top
most.
rate, yeah.
I do.
It must be really hard, especially when you're running such an expensive venue as well, and your costs are so high, right? And
my
I
costs are
assume,
insane.
I don't know, does VAT work the same over there? Like when your business earns over a certain amount of money, you have to pay like VAT, or does everyone have to pay
Yeah.
VAT there? Or
What's VAT? It might call it something
value
else.
added tax. So
Yes.
it's like we have like
It's
our
a-
taxes like that we pay. So we pay like corporation tax as like limited companies. And then when we go over, I think it's 80,000 a year, we then have to pay value added tax on everything.
Yeah, basically, that's exactly. They like to add in weird things like commercial taxes and real estate taxes. And yeah, it's really fun. I'm like, I don't even own the space. How do I have a commercial and real estate tax? I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
Yeah,
and I was going to say, do you have like an accountant who does all that for you?
so I work directly with my absolutely.
Yeah.
My accountant, you're at this level. My accountant is my best friend.
Oh, right. Oh my God. I feel like I'm
My
best friends with
bookkeeper and my
too.
accountant, man, they are like my best friends. Like
Yeah.
they really are. I would say to anybody, come if you're owning a studio though, like you're going to change accountants a couple times till you find the right one. This was my third accountant, but this is the accountant. And then and my bookkeeper. My bookkeeper is a professional professor at NYU. I think he actually is doing it because he thinks it's an interesting case study.
Oh, really?
No, I always feel that way. I'm like, you're way overqualified to work with me, but I think maybe I have like a sparkling personality or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Or he's using me as a case study.
Yeah, maybe. But that's fair enough. Listen, so long as he's doing a good job, who cares?
I'll take charity. Who wants to help me? I do not deny gifts and help.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to come on and tell you about one of our sponsors for this podcast. And this podcast is sponsored by Polos. I know what you're thinking. Wait, isn't Polos your business? Yeah, it is. Listen, if you can't support yourself, who can you support, hey? Polos is an online store where we sell lots of pole-related merchandise. You can get everything from pole dancing princesses, pole dancing dogs, pole dancing cats, all the way up to tops that say heels bigger than your dick. So it's very much varied in its approach. We've got some rude ones and we've got some super cute ones. So if you're looking for a nice top for someone who just wants a nice little dog pole dancing on a pole, go for it. That's where you need to go, polos.com. And if you want a bath bomb that's in the shape of a penis, because let's be honest, why wouldn't you want that? Then yeah, you need to go to polos.com and get yourself a dick-shaped bath bomb. Go and check us out now, polos.com. So you have is Body and Pole your main thing? Body and Pole is the main business, but then you have Elevated, which is your online. No, it's not online. Do you do any of them online, the Elevated courses, the teacher courses?
No, so yeah, I have Body and Pole, and then Body and Pole Online is part of Body and Pole.
It is part. I was going to ask that. Is it a separate company? Okay, it's still part of Body and Pole.
It's together, but it has a whole department that runs it.
Right.
And then
which is what your husband does. That's his.
Yeah, my husband runs that department. Yeah,
cool.
He's the director of Body and Pole Online, and then I have Elevated. So Elevated is what I owned with Marlo and Michelle for a long time. And now I only currently own it just because, again, Marlo wanted to focus on flow movement and Michelle had different ventures going on. So, and so that was very healthy and happy too. But when the pandemic hit, it was so crazy. Like so March 16th is when we had to shut down the studio. We were working with my teams and we knew something was happening. We just didn't, nobody knew what it was going to be like, but we knew that something was going down. So, I was pregnant with Evie. Evie was going to come in July and I had a 3-year-old, Henry. And, we just bought a house a little bit north of the city. Thank God, honestly. And the reason that happened is, this is a true story too. So on October 26th of 2019, I found out I was pregnant. It was the same day that my landlord that I had been at for 10 years said, "Hey, Kyra and Kyle, we love you, but we want to expand this to a 1-family home because it was a brownstone. And we would like you out by January 1st. And I was like, oh. So I was like, oh, okay. And then that's actually the day that Leanne had said, hey, I'd like to talk about you buying me out. Swear to God, it was the same day. Kyle's like, I can't take anymore. But all of it worked out. But by literally February 1st, Leanne and I had created an agreement. I had bought a house and I was off to the races pregnant with Evie.
Wait, hold on. So your land... Oh, hold on. Sorry. Oh my God, I'm getting so
No,
confused.
my home.
Your
yeah,
home landlord.
my home.
Oh my God. I was like, so how
So
are
I
you
was just
still
like
there?
a little
So I
crazy.
see,
And then the
yeah.
pandemic hits.
Mhm.
And it was like, I didn't like, how long is this studio going to have to be shut down? We were shut down for 7 months.
Oh man.
Thank God I got both PPPs with the help of Ermengarde Mayer, was our general manager at the time. She was relentless and fearless and passionate and up at killing it with our accountant and our bookkeeper, just getting everything we needed. That PPP, people talk about it, saved Body and Pole. And we used it exactly for it. We used it for payroll and for our rent. And thank God we had it. We wouldn't have made it.
No.
And then not only that,
Did Body
7
and
months
Pole
to
Online help top it up as well?
thank God we had Body and Pole Online. So we started Body and Pole Online in 2016 we believe this is a thing that needs to be happening. So yeah, it helped make sure that I paid my mortgage is basically what it did.
Amazing.
It just made sure that my family was eating. So thank you everybody who stayed doing it. And then we started doing the live classes. So we opened a whole nother thing. Now we have this. No, you were great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so great to connect that way now.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing that people now can have, it created a whole other opportunity. But yeah, it made sure that
same for
my
me.
family...
Like it created a whole other income for me. And it's funny because I think it took us to be forced to go online to realize actually this ain't so bad. So many of my students were like, do you know what, actually I realized, because I mainly specialize with just conditioning classes online. That's my main thing. I do teach trick classes as well, but it's not my main thing that I do online. It's mainly conditioning. And lots of the students were like, do you know what, for me, it's so much better just to do conditioning at home because it's one of those workouts that I really don't want to have to do. And I don't want to go to the studio just to do a conditioning class. Like if I'm going to go to the studio, I want to learn tricks. And I get it. And so it was a nice way for them to do conditioning, gain this extra strength so that when they did go to their tricks classes, they were nailing stuff. Like so many of them were like, when I went back to the studio, people were like, how did you get so strong? And they were like, well, I was just conditioning online with Dan the whole time. And that's why I think a lot of them have stayed, which has been amazing for me. So yeah, it's been life-changing for me as well. But it was scary at first, really scary. I mean, I tell everyone this anyway, but when it first got announced, so the UK, along with probably the US as well, actually, we were in denial about our sort of our political figures, should we call them, were very in denial of it at first. So no, this is all fine, it's all fine. Then the European countries, boom, boom, they're all locked down. We were like, I literally said to my husband, I was like, something's going on here. And then a few days later, it was like, okay, we're going to have to go into lockdown. And I remember crying because I was so scared. I was just like, what the hell is happening? Like, I was worried we were all going to die. Like, oh God, I just went into full panic mode.
Yeah.
So it's been scary, but it's been a real life-changing thing for so many people, I guess. Some good, some bad, of course. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel the pandemic changed not only yourself, but your business?
Well, I agree. I think that we found a lot with online, like a whole nother, the live classes and connecting that way. Also me, I was always in the studio. I was in the studio, even when I moved up here, I was still going to the studio, 5 days a week and learning that I could run this space remotely. So now I go in 2 days a week. I go Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then I have my remote days at home, and it's a better life balance. Right. It's a better, that's good. The part though, when it was unsure and we were running at half capacity for a year and negotiating with my landlord, and I got psoriasis on my hands. Like I started
from
stress. Yeah. And I had a brand new baby. My parents didn't even get to see her till she was 1. Because they live in Arizona. So they hadn't met my daughter. And I was like, this is crappy. Like this is
Yeah.
the worst. But we came out of it, you know, and like you also see your team, like your team that can, of people around you, that you see how much they care for others and how much they care for your business and how much they care, what their priorities are and how much you care for them. And that's a big add value.
Yeah.
But the loss of life that many people had, I mean, my parents had people that they lost, and my neighbors, that's like, the loss of life is tragic. So I lost my brother when I was 10. My brother died in a car accident when I was 10. He was 18. And there's only one thing that I think this is also why I'm successful, or I will not be successful, is I only put importance on humans. I understand how someone's next to you and then can be gone in like 4 seconds. I mean, it was tragic. So I don't care about money that much. I don't care about anything that much. I just want to do what I want to do every day with the people that I love every day. And if you're not going to be kind and you're a pain in the ass, I'm like, get the fuck out of my way. You got to go, because I just don't have time for unkind bull crap. I just am like, you get a lesson quick when you lose like a piece of your heart so young.
I mean,
so
talking of, actually, this comes onto a subject I want to talk to you about. Talking of the like being unkind, you're dealing with hundreds of instructors, students, like people in and out of the door. I mean, weekly we're talking. There must be. I remember. I hope you don't mind bringing it up. Do you remember when? I think it was the Black Lives Matter thing happened at the time, and then everyone was at home when that happened. So everyone was on their phones. And then everyone at that point was online checking that all of the studios had posted the right things and that they'd done. And then I think like a few studios over in the US came under fire over it, and I think you may have even had, so you don't have to delve into what it was, but I remember, like, because you're such a big figure, there must be this pressure to have to be perfect all the time. Talk to me about that. Like, how do you cope with that?
Yeah. Well, I think that the Body and Pole has definitely come under fire multiple times. You know, there's a lot
Any
of
successful business does, though. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah, and it's it's like there's social justice, and we are, you know, we're a small community, but we're a mighty community. We're always growing, and people are in there. And I think that people look at Body and Pole as not me, which is what I want, right? Like, I run this with an extremely amazing management team with extremely amazing instructors. It isn't just about me. So when we go under fire, I just looked to my social media director, and I look to my marketing director, and I look to my other managers, and we decide together how to handle that situation. And sometimes we get hit really hard because we're quiet. Well, a lot of times you're quiet or you don't say much because you don't need to get sued anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think people don't understand that, like, there's a lot of, like, I make decisions not about Kyra Johannesen. I make decisions for 50 people. There's 50 people with salaries, and there's 13 on healthcare, 14 on healthcare. That's who I'm making decisions for. I'm not making decisions emotionally. I'm not making decisions about my personal belief. I'm making decisions for a business. Yeah. And its ability to survive that train, right? That's the train. There's trains coming all the time. I got to dodge it, or I get hit, and I just got to mitigate how hit I get, right? So you're constantly making choices to just make sure your studio has another year, and that you get to do what you love, and that people have a job to go to, and then you get to do, because I love teaching, and it's like a way I express myself. So yeah, no, I think there's a lot of and it happens a lot to studios. The only advice I could say to studio owners is don't get emotional about it. It's not about you, and do what's right to look at it as a whole. Like, look at everybody around you, right? And talk to your lawyer.
Yeah. Do you not think it's really hard to not take it sometimes so personal, because people will start tagging, you know, you personally and be like, Kyra, what are you saying about this? We want to know what you're saying and what are your views, blah, blah. It seems almost like people don't understand that sometimes see, I've got this view that I shouldn't have to tell you the way that I feel about a certain thing. It's like I always say to people, you know, with the whole discussion around gender and non-binary people now, and I've learned so much over the last however many years about it. And those people are like, oh, like, I'll get, you know, people who are maybe old, it tends to be older people, to be fair, will be like, oh, I don't get it, it's stupid. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter if you get it or not. And it's like with me, like, if people were to ask me, like, what do you think of it? I just say, well, for me, it's not about whether I like it or not. It's about, I want to make sure that people who come into my studio, if they're a non-binary person, I want to make sure they feel comfortable. And that's my only worry. That's all I really care about. So long as they feel comfortable when they come through my door, that's my priority. And if I can do that, that's great. And they're like, yeah, but don't you want people to know where you stand? And I'm like, no. Why do they need to know that? They don't need to know where I stand on it.
Well, it doesn't matter as long as you're respecting where they're standing.
But other people would say, actually, I think that is important where you stand on it, because I only want to support a studio where the owner believes this, and this. I'm like, but that's not how life works. Like my nan, right, okay, really weird story. Years and years ago, my nan, when my dad got with my stepmom, she's Jamaican, my nan like was inherently racist, like, and so was my granddad. They did not take it well at all. And just over the years, things have changed. And, you know, my stepmom forgives them now, and they're very apologetic about how they were at the beginning, but it was very new for them. And it's one of those things, we can all learn, we can change. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it made her a bad person. Now, if that had been nowadays, people would be expecting me to cut off my nan because my nan had said this or that. I'm like, no, this is a family member. I don't have to agree with what she says, or, you know, and it's the same for businesses. Like, if I'm supporting a business that has views I don't agree with, I mean, it does depend on the views, if I'm completely honest, but, you know, I try not to take it personally.
Who can eat a Chick-fil-A right now? You know, can you eat a Chick-fil-A?
Oh, so Chick-fil-A, is that it's homophobic?
The one that didn't support LGBTQ people.
Right, exactly.
Plus, yeah, I'm like, no, I don't think I can have, but I wouldn't go to a fast food restaurant anyway.
But then, do you know what? Again, controversial, but for me, I'm like, I'm not being funny, but when I buy chicken from somewhere, I don't think, you're pretty like homophobic, because the likeness is the people who are actually behind that till, they're probably not homophobic.
No, they're not.
And I'm not buying chicken because I want it to be pro LGBT. I don't. I know it sounds really bad, and don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna actively go out my way to support them and be like, yeah, go Chick-fil-A, they hate gays or whatever. But at the same time, I'm just a bit like, I don't give a shit what their views are. I'm not going to throw money their way, but if I'm really hungry one day and Chick-fil-A is all there is, I will eat it. I'm not going to starve.
My thing is more like, when you're looking at big businesses also, it's not, you know what they do, right? Like, where do they put their money? Charity works. Like, do you know where Body and Poles put their charity money? When we have charity to give to? Yeah, that's what people should look at. They should try to find out those things. They should try to find out also how do you treat your staff, right? What's your diversity in your staff? Are there diversity trainings in your staff? Are there inclusivity trainings? But people don't care about that. They just want, what happens in the social justice aspect is like, there's a cause, and it's happening less now. Because like you said, for a while there, everybody was locked down. And so it was like, but there's a cause and they want action now. Tell me what you feel now. But I'm like, hold on a second. Like, I will, but I need to make sure that, you know, we're not going off the rails here. You know,
what do you think about that, actually? Because I agree with what you're saying, exactly what you're saying. You were saying about how, you know, it's definitely calmed down a lot now. And I think it's calmed down a lot now because people are back to their normal lives. And if I'm honest, I think people don't have the time to care as much. And actually, I don't think they cared in the beginning. If I'm honest, I don't. I think people are fake as fuck on Instagram and all these places, and they give it the social justice warrior act. And then, do you know how many people I saw post about the exotic pole conversation who now I see using the word exotic pole still?
That's
Honestly,
real.
I
That
wish
we
I
got
wish I could
that
make
one
a
too.
status about it. Oh, I wish I could. There are people who I've screenshot and sent to friends and be like, "This is hilarious." I'm like, "Look, this person is back to using the word, no mention of it, but the same person was kicking off at people when they were using it online months back. So what happened? What's different? The difference is they realize that no one gives a shit anymore. Like no one cares because life is back to normal. And actually, the issue maybe wasn't as big an issue as what they thought it was. I mean, I don't use that word anymore because I listened
No.
to the feedback and I just
Yeah, it made
decided for
sense.
me, you know, I just don't, I just call mine like heels choreo now. Like it sounds fine,
Yeah.
or dance with Dan, but it's the whole thing of
Yeah.
like, I don't like don't act like a social justice warrior online and give it this massive act and then go back on it because it just is, it's embarrassing to watch for me. It's embarrassing. I hate it. And it just really pisses me off. I hate it so much.
I think that might not go away though, because I think a lot of people thrive off of that. Like there is a group of, individuals in the world, just people in the world that thrive off of just kind of
Drama.
getting it going, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you kind of do that sometimes. I mean, with Paul LOLs, you like get a little going and
Of
it's
course.
good, but the banter is good. See, I like opposing ideals and the banter, but I don't like that when they want to cancel you or the silence thing, because
Right.
that's not productive. Like that
No.
doesn't actually create any change or transform. It just is being like, it's like telling a little kid, like, just shut up.
Yeah.
Stop talking. And it's like, wait, what just happened? Like, just because you don't like what they're saying, like you need to have all the sides. Like even like you should be able to sit there and talk to somebody who completely doesn't agree with anything, or you don't agree with anything they're saying, but you can talk about it.
But I find it funny as well because, and again, I've talked to lots of people about this whole, so many different spaces and sides to it. But I talked to people about when that whole exotic conversation was happening, I agreed with it. So that's why I changed my wording for me. And I don't call it that anymore. I just call it heels choreo. And it works absolutely fine. It doesn't really bother me at all. But I noticed that the Russians couldn't have given less of a shit. They literally did not care. The Russians were just like, this is ridiculous. No. And they were just like, no, we're not doing that. The Russians
But then nobody went after them anyway either, because they were like, it's okay.
But no one went after them, I think, as well, because they realized that they couldn't have the same argument with the Russians because the Russians don't speak English. And this is the thing. And it makes you think, well, you don't care that much then, because if you really cared, you'd still go after the Russians, still calling it that. But the Russians were just like, I feel it's a cultural thing. I feel we're a lot more woke in the UK and the US, probably more so in the US actually than it is in the UK, but we're still pretty woke here as well. In Russia, it's the most unwoke place you could ever imagine, as I'm sure you know, just from like the polars that we follow from there. That they don't understand it. But when I've been at events and I've talked to some of the Russian polars about the things they're like, what? You don't use the word exotic anymore? But it's exotic pole. I'm like, no, we can't.
They're
call
like,
it
that's
that.
my brand.
And they're like, well, what do we call it? I'm like, well, anything but that. They're like, but they can't compute that. They're just like,
they're cool though, because I'll be booking for BP Online and someone will throw that as a title and I say, hey, I just give different words,
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Because I'm just like, hey, listen, you really, it ain't worth it. Like, it's just it's not worth it for you. It's not worth it for us. Like, because you're getting, it's making noise where there needs to be no noise, and it's distracting from the purpose. So I think that that's the thing that happens a lot. I think a lot of, I know this is going to maybe sound a little controversial, but I think sometimes forward progressive individuals make noise that is unnecessary, that actually dilutes the goal, and it gives opportunity for others to actually discredit and latch on to things that are unimportant. And you're like, oh God, like, why are you?
But do you know what?
I feel like don't do that.
But I feel like I'm okay to say that because I agree with you, and I feel like it's okay for me to say that I share the same opinion because I've done it before. Like, I've done it before as well, and now I look back and I think, why did I do that? Like, that conversation didn't even need to be had, actually, and it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. And this is the thing, like some of the things that I've kicked off about in the past. And actually, if I really self-reflect, I'm completely honest, I believe a lot of the reason why I did that at the time was because I felt like people would like me more if I became the voice of the people. And actually, no one cares. No one actually wants someone to do that. The people who are doing that will also learn the hard way, like I did, and realize that actually it puts more people off you than it puts people onto you. It's all good being this social justice warrior and, you know, fighting the good fight and stuff, sure. But actually, for all the people that follow you because of it, you'll get just as many people unfollow you because they don't like that vibe. And it's a lesson I learned over the years. I mean, I try to toe the line as closely as possible now. Like we talk about controversial things on pole lulls. I mean, you could even say that the fails are probably a bit controversial because people don't. You know, not everyone likes to watch fails, but but that's always been in my character. But I would say like my mental health suffered quite a lot with trolling and stuff whenever people have disagreed with things that I've said and stuff. So I just try to keep out of it, if I'm honest. But it's little things like Tuesday topics, you know, they're never there to upset anyone. You know, it's people genuinely asking questions. And yeah, sure, sometimes they're stupid questions, but it's good that we answer them and we have a space to discuss it. But I've had people be like, I need to know who sent that because we need to expose them for saying this, blah, blah, blah. Like there shouldn't be people saying, I'm like, I'm absolutely not. This is why I run Tuesday Topic, is because if someone had posted that on their actual post and said, hey, you know, what do you think about this, blah, 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 and they ended up getting cancelled for it. Can you imagine? At least now they have a space where they can ask a stupid question and let themselves be educated on it. But people are funny. I think people are hilarious on the internet. And I also love that no one is like that in real life. These people that they are on the internet is so different to how they are if they see you in real life.
I know. No, I have to tell you, I do enjoy your polls, but there's sometimes that but I think that the thing is, you have to remember it's entertainment. And then if you really do want like shift and change, and then you stay the course of what that is, right? Like you said that person like was doing this whole thing and then it's like, stay the course on what you really believe. And then unless you get a change of heart, but then share the change of heart. You know what I mean? Like kind of like how, you know, your grandmother shifted. It's like that share that transformation. And I don't think people want to share that ugly. They don't want to, it's either they do something and then they want to hide from what they said. I get so many anonymous things. It's hilarious. It's like, I mean, I don't understand why people can't just say what they want and then say, this is how I feel. Like, I feel this way and this is, you know, what I need.
But instead, they'd rather create a fake profile and troll you instead.
Yeah. It's just like, it's okay.
Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from a jealousy place?
I think it's scared.
No, see, I think I say this to a lot of successful people that I've had on it, and I don't know whether sometimes they don't want to say it because maybe they don't want to sound too like big-headed by admitting it, but I do think that a lot of the time that people try to cancel someone or they try to come for somebody, it comes from a place of jealousy because that person's achieved something that they wish they actually had achieved, but they couldn't. And it's just theory, obviously. I can't prove that that's true. But yeah, there's a lot of people that I think, I'm like, okay. I'm like, you're cancelling this person, but actually you're very similar to them. Like, so maybe it's
like if we put a mirror up, it's actually the same.
You're very similar to them, but you just haven't been as successful. I wonder if that's maybe like coming from a place of jealousy. I don't know. Maybe not. Could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But maybe for some people it is, some people it isn't. But
I just don't have that time. Like that's, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you're doing a lot of things, right? You're doing the weekly D, you got LLs, you got all your teaching, you have all your business runnings, you have your partner. Why? I just am like, I don't know how people have this kind of time. And I honestly want to say to them, take that time and put it towards real change. Please.
Yeah, please invest your time wisely. That's actually one thing I taught myself. And sometimes I trip up and I do bite because sometimes people will say things that really just make me think, I just can't help but reply to it or respond to it sometimes. But it's funny because I don't really manage the Polars page so much anymore. I've got someone called Nadia, a lovely girl called Nadia, who also edits this podcast. She deals mainly with Polars now. And sometimes when I go in there, I'll see messages from months ago that someone had kicked off and sent this really long message. And I'm just like, that's so sad. I didn't see that. And then I just hit the delete button and I move on with my life because I'm just like, I just think like, I wonder how I would have reacted to it at the time. And this is why I'm really glad I don't see them anymore, because if I'd seen that at the time, it probably actually would have really offended me or would have upset me. But I'm so glad I don't see them directly at the time anymore. But I just hate it. Talking of like, you know, trying to invest your time to family and stuff and putting your time to good use. What about you? What's your work-life balance like?
So I have 2 littles, and littles are a lot of work.
Yeah. And you have the dog that was asleep on the sofa behind you a little while ago.
He's so cute.
He's cute.
I got the dog who was over there before. When Evie was 6 months old, and my husband said I was crazy because I had a little Yorkie named Star for 16 years, and she was 4 pounds. And I got her when I moved to LA because I was kind of sad. I was having a hard time like with auditions. And then I knew that if I got a tour or if I got things, I could take her with me. And she did. She went with me on many tours and to New York, and she'd passed right before I had Henry. So 5 years ago, and I wasn't ready to have a dog. And then we got this house, and it has a really nice backyard, and we were in the pandemic, and Evie just started sleeping through the night. And of course I decided to get a dog. Yeah. And my husband wanted to fucking kill me.
Do you know what? I don't want to sleep the whole way through the night. I'm going to get a dog now.
I've also tried to convince him to have a 3rd child, and he's a big no. So we're not doing that. But I like to be insane is what I think I've realized. But now I know what my work balance is there's no balance. That's there's no balance.
Do you like that chaoticness though? Do you think that? Yeah. What do you think would happen to you if everything did stop? Like if let's say for example, you sold the studio, you got rid of all your businesses, and you literally were sat at home, and you were like, now what? I always ask this because I'm like, are you escaping something?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yes. I would become a farmer, by the way. Okay. I really want to be a farmer.
Of course.
I do. I actually want it right now too. I really want to work outside and you know, get into the ground. Like I love being outside. People might not know that, but I hike all the time. I put my babies on my back and I hike for miles. It's how I like get my head clear. I'll take conference calls on hikes because I have to. That's how I'll hike. My son, when he was 3 and we hit the pandemic, he was hiking 6 miles a day with me when I was 7 months pregnant. We would just walk and walk and walk. And that's how I de-stress. I also like being on the beach and I'll swim. I'll swim and swim and swim and swim. So I really like being outside. And I would probably do something with that. Like I would become a farmer in some aspect, but I'm definitely hiding. I want you to know that I'm hiding from myself.
It's just because you just don't want to be sort of like within your own thoughts. I feel like I talk about this because I feel like I'm probably the same in the sense that I just feel like if I have to stop, then I have to deal with here, you know, the upstairs. I have to sit there in my own thoughts and can't keep myself busy. And
nobody needs that. You know what? I'm saving that for when my children are, you know, sufficient and out of the house. And then maybe my husband, you know, is deaf enough not to listen to me. And then I can do that work. And then I'll do like lots of mushrooms and go on hikes and ayahuasca and like have a real spiritual change. But truthfully, right now, there's no time for that. No. Like I need to make sure these babies are healthy and happy and taken care of. I need to make sure the studios, I feel like I'm just getting started. And I know I've been doing this since 2006, but I feel like I've got so much more art to create too. Like, and also I'm rolling out a really cool thing with this studio in October. I'm not going to tell you.
I was going to say, you're allowed to say.
No, it's so fucking cool. It's too cool. It's actually too fucking cool. Like I was like, and I think it might be another like shift in this way that people see what we do. And
Is it
and
pole?
I
It's
love
still
getting,
pole?
it's in the studio, but it's
Okay.
like, I think people like look at body and pole. Sometimes they'll do in similar things. And people always ask me, oh, does that drive you crazy? I said, no, because that means that I'm running the game. Like,
Yeah.
so I can't wait to roll this out and then see when someone else rolls it out
Mm.
with
Oh,
the
yeah.
same name
Oh, of
or
course.
the
You know,
slightly
someone will.
off name. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope so, because that means I'm doing something right. It's very flattering
Yeah. I
when,
was going to say, you
and it's
got,
also very flattering too. You got to go back to social media when people do go after you a little bit. It means you're big enough to be going after and like
right.
big enough to be talked about.
I
So I say
100%
thank
agree
you,
with
because
that.
if you stop talking about me, then I'm at body and pole. We're not relevant anymore.
Exactly. And actually, this is the thing. What people don't even realize is that by talking about these people, oh, actually, what's so funny? I love it. I shouldn't really think of it this way. It's really bad. But whenever I hear there's been a drama or something on polos, maybe someone's kicked off about something and everyone's really kicking off about something. So it's normally something stupid. I'll put the profile on private and everyone's like, oh, he's trying to hide. No, I'm not. I want to make sure that if those people are going to come to the page for drama, they're going to click that follow button, because you ain't getting on this page without pressing follow. Oh, and some of the people that I see have to press follow to look. And I'm like, I know that person is not a fan of this page. I'm like, I know that must have taken so much out of them
Oh,
to press the follow.
they had to think
They,
about you so
they
much.
would have hated it. And I'm just like, it makes me feel so good. When I watch them press follow, I'm like, I'm going to leave it an hour and then I'll press accept. But it's just, I find it hilarious and actually sounds crazy, but sometimes when these little things are happening where people are kicking off about something stupid, that's when we get our most followers, because people are just desperate to go and see what's happening. And that's
Yeah, so
actually
weird.
the Tuesday topics. Everyone's like, oh, Dan posts Tuesday topics for the drama. He does it for the likes, the comments. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's part of the reason why I do it, of course. It's to
Yeah.
raise our engagement, because engagement on social media is so shit now.
Right.
So it's
Right.
to raise our engagement, but it's also to, allow people a space to talk anonymously. But yeah, you mentioned a minute ago about like not being in your head and stuff. Do you have any spiritual practice? Like, do you have therapy or anything like that for yourself? Any time that you dedicate to yourself apart from the walking?
I have like, I do one thing. So I do Pilates with Caitlin Goddard. Everyone should do Pilates with Caitlin Goddard in New York. So Caitlin saved my back. I blew my back out in 2013. I couldn't walk because I caught a dancer in the air in a butterfly. She just like released, and every part of my spine blew out.
Oh.
And it was an awful time. And it taught me a lot, though. I became such a great cuer and learned so much about the body. And I'm like really grateful for it, but it also kills my body. My back's like always like, crick. I can't just like throw my leg up, except when I go out to karaoke sometimes with friends. I'll just throw the leg up for frenzy. But yeah, I do Pilates. And I think it's half because I get to work it. I close my eyes, and she's such a good practitioner, and she's so specific that I get to actually like really focus on very specific muscles, and it's only for me. And she's there to care only for me. And she's also known me so long, and I can say something or I can just start crying. And she's like, it's cool, like holding space.
Oh, you have it like as a private lesson, do you? Not a group?
It's a private lesson. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Saves me.
That's amazing.
And I only get one a week because, it's costly. And I also can't tear myself away from work or my kids that much. But
of course.
Yeah, that's my thing. And the hiking.
Yeah, I remember you saying about the hiking.
Drag my kids up hills.
That sounds crazy. Oh my God. So to wrap it up, I just want to find I know you've got a cool project coming up that you're not willing to tell us about, but
no, because I got to launch it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing what that is. but what do you, if I said to you, what's your 10-year plan, or even 5-year, what's the goal for you? What do you envision yourself doing in the next 10 years?
I have many. So as an artist, I want to get back to, I had Era Dance, which is my dance company. And
That was yes, because do you know what?
Yeah.
I can't even remember who I was talking to about that photo, the photo at Body and Pole with all of you on the pole. And it was just the most amazing thing, because that was like the originals were all in it, wasn't it? It was like Steven, Marlo, and all the big names. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's, wait, hold on. Delisha, did you say?
Delisha Franklin, yeah, she danced for Era and she was in that, yeah.
Oh, she teaches for Body and Pole?
She taught for Body and Pole. She was one of our work studies in 2012, and then she became an instructor, and she launched Black Girls Pole at Body and Pole, like the first event.
Isn't that crazy? And look at how amazingly successful she's been. They're so good. And she had a
baby. Her baby was due the same day my baby was due. So we were both due on July 4th, and her baby came 5 weeks early. And then Evie came on time.
5 weeks early. Oh my God.
Yeah. He's so beautiful.
Oh,
she shares a lot of information about him. I tend to not share anything about my kids, and I don't have, I think people should. It's just that people come after Body and Pole, and I don't want them to see, I don't want them to know these two people. They're not a part of it. So
no, I see what you mean.
If I had a business more like hers that,
she's like a personal brand.
Yeah,
so I think
it would be
people
different.
kind of want to know about, whereas you're representing her. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit different. Yeah, actually, again, there's so many people that I really want to have on here, but I'd love to speak to Elijah. She's done some amazing stuff for the Black community. I love the Black pole community has grown so much because of her. So I'd love to talk to her about that journey and stuff. Yeah. Definitely someone I'd love to talk to.
But I want to, okay, here's my big thing as an artist. I want to get back to creating a big show I was for a while there doing, putting pole dancers and aerialists on art installations. And I want to get back into doing that, into large art installations, and then putting on larger, more provocative shows. Nice. I really want to open a strip club. I was planning to open one right before the pandemic. This is a true story. I had a board of directors of women and past strippers, and I really wanted to do that. And so I don't know if I'm going to move it into more of a cabaret thing or come back and do it as a strip club. But I got to get that group of people back together and see what we can do there. I kind of want a Crazy Horse, small strip club, provocative aerial pole extravaganza.
Yes.
So I want to do that. I want to do the large high art work and then club work. And then I want to grow Body and Pole with having more online classes inside the studio. I want to outfit the space a little bit more modern. I want to build its capacity of having just more ability to get content, as well as an actual environmental experience in the space. I want to have the highest paid instructors and everyone have even better healthcare. And I want to buy another car. I want 2 cars, because the one car is really hard, because I live in the country. I live in horse country, and it's fun.
Oh, what? Because you mean there's 2 of you, so having just the one car.
Having one car, having one car for a family of 4, and I have to get to the city a lot. It's been fun. My kids get dragged around, but my kids are so resilient, and they're so go with the flow. As long as you give them gummy bears, if it gets really bad, gummy bears.
So if it gets really bad, gummy bears. So you have emergency gummy bears in your bag just in case?
I absolutely do.
Always.
I have them right now.
I don't know if you have this in the US, just as a little idea for you to throw out there. They have an incentive in the UK where you can basically buy an electric car, and your company can have it as a full write-off. The whole thing can be written off against your business. Do you have that in the US?
No, I want that. That's what I want. All I need is I want an electric car.
It has to be a fully electric though.
I do. I want a fully electric car, because I only need it around the town. I just have to get to the train so I can get to the city.
Right.
And I don't need this crazy thing. But it's been a hard since the pandemic,
Right, of course.
finances are a little low, but I'm hoping for more financial stability. I'm hoping for more art, and I'm hoping for more resources with the studio in the next 10 years.
Well, I have no doubt that with all the stuff that you've achieved, I think that is very easily achieved by you for sure. Um, well, yeah, thank you so much for coming onto my podcast. I feel like I could have talked to you for ages, but I felt like we covered loads. It's been amazing speaking to you and hearing about the journey, and you are a very inspiring person to me as another business person or someone who likes to consider themselves a business person. And what you've done is very inspiring, and I'm sure everyone who's listening to this is super inspired. So thank you so much.
Oh, Dan, thank you. I was very humbled and honored to be on your show when you wrote me, because a lot of times, like I just do the work, and then when somebody's like, I want to talk to you about it, I was like, you do?
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
this
That's so
is
nice.
again why, because like you said, you're like, oh, I don't want people to be coming for me or whatever. I want it to be about the studio, and sometimes when people are more behind the scenes with things like that, sometimes people don't know that they just know body and pole, and they might not know
Yeah.
who creates it and who is in charge of the place. So I think it's really important that we hear the voices of these people, because without you and without other people who have done similar to you, we wouldn't have an industry like we have now. So I think it's so good for them to be able to hear that. So thank you so much for talking to me about your story, and hopefully I'll be able to chat to you again soon sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Take care of you and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm listening. I'm
Yes.
reading. I'm watching.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll speak to you again soon. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the episode, and I really hope it inspired you. And if it did, I would ask that you kindly go and give me 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening to me on, and I'd really appreciate it. So screenshot it, send it to me on Instagram, and you will be entered into a prize draw to win a bunch of goodies from Polo's gift shop. So go and do it now, send me a screenshot, and let's get you some free shit. Until next time.
That was all the tea that you can get this week. Join me next time right here. It's the week.